Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classics, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this, our third annual Year End Faves episode, as well as our wrap-up and ranking of the Cyberpunk series.
I'm pretty stoked for this one. I really enjoy these year-end episodes because it's a change of pace. I was recommending a friend who is just getting into the podcast recently where to start. I said, you can start anywhere, but I really like the year-end episodes, or just pick a topic that you like.
Yeah.
So it kind of highlighted for me that these are kind of my most enjoyable ones.
Yeah, they're a little bit looser, and it's just a chance to kind of spotlight what we were into, and
it's a super what are you into right now
episode. So we're going to not do that segment this episode because the whole episode is a what are you into.
And it's worth mentioning, if you're a diver who hasn't listened to one of these previously, this is a year-end favorite. It's not a year-end best of. Yeah. Like, for example, I'm sure there are better things in pretty much every genre than what I chose.
Yeah, probably
these
not
are just
for me,
the things I chose. Oh, yeah. Nick's a connoisseur of all things.
Yeah. I saw every show, every film, I listened to all the albums.
I was looking at a lot of album lists, and I was like, wow, damn, I missed a lot this year.
Oh, no, because I always do that. I start going through, is there anything from any of the big lists, anything that I like more than the things I've already picked?
Yeah, I like to be reminded of what I heard in the first half of the year, whatever, because my memory's not amazing.
Yeah. This is actually, when the lists start coming out around like October, November, is when I start like finding all the things that I should have been listening to all year long. When it comes to albums, I'll be like, I've never even heard of this band.
I'm lucky that I have Barrowlands Marty, who's always sending me music links, like constantly. He's like, you're gonna like this. I almost always do. Yeah. And then you send me links, and so I've got a pretty good music income.
People out there fishing for you. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes I hear something and I go, I like this, but this is really Dave's thing. This is more Dave's thing than my thing. Yeah.
All right, well, this is going to probably be a long-winded episode, so let's just jump right into the news and roll for initiative.
Okay.
20.
Oh.
Is this the first 20 we've had on the show?
I believe so. I got 12, so...
Man, that's awesome. That's good, because my piece of news is the most important piece of news. Anyway, Henry Cavill, out as Superman, but in as the God Emperor of Man, also known as the executive producer and star of a Warhammer 40K movie and or series and or who knows.
Well, the way they're pitching it is the way like all the studios pitch everything now. It's a interconnected, shared universe with movies and shows.
They bought the IP, they bought the license. Amazon has Amazon money. I mean, nobody has more money for this sort of thing. This is a big win. I mean, I'm bummed that he's not Superman because he's the best Superman. Yeah. But I'm a huge 40K fan. I mean, how many times have I talked about 40K on this show? A lot of times.
It's not in every episode, but it's in every other or every third.
Yeah. This is actually our 60th episode. We've had a couple more than that. With I think we had a 0.5 episode and we had a 0. So we're in the 60s, but out of 60-ish episodes,
I bet 50 you've talked about
40, 50, yeah. So I'm big on this, and I really hope that they bring this IP to a broader platform. Obviously, it's going to be on a broad platform, but a broader audience. Yeah. I've already seen rumblings of that on social media, people saying like, oh, hey, I never was into this, but with Cavill on board, I'm probably going to check it out.
Yeah.
I went back and I re-listened to the first Eisenhorn audiobook, and I'm in the second audiobook because that's an Inquisitor story that has been rumored will be one of the early series, probably. Which is great because they're people. They're not like Space Marines in armor all the time.
Oh,
it's like they're like an Inquisitor. He's tracking down agents of chaos and stuff.
Right.
And so it's kind of a detective-ish thing where a little. It's an ensemble cast because he has a whole staff. So I don't know. I'm stoked for the whole thing. and I want to see movies. I want to see shows. I
Yeah.
want them to change the fan base of this game to be like more cool people
Yeah,
and
you're right.
less like
Basement dwelling
grognards.
Nazis. Yeah.
It's not, the Nazi thing is a little overblown, but yeah,
There's not none.
there's not none. But I would venture that Star Wars has just as many Nazis as 40K.
That's what I think. Anytime I see someone with that Empire sticker on their car, I was like, space Nazi.
Ooh.
If you have the Empire and the Hail Hydra like squid on your car, it's like double space Nazi.
And then if they add a Punisher skull,
Yeah,
it's over.
just a Nazi. Just put the big red flag on there.
Man, I like the space fascists because they look cool, they act cool. They're the bad guys. You have to say that they're the bad guys. They're
Right.
not the heroes.
But aren't they kind of the heroes of Warhammer? The space fascists?
Oh, well, okay. If people don't know about Warhammer, maybe it's worth talking about.
Okay.
So in Warhammer, there's really 3 meta factions. There's the
Okay.
Imperium of Man,
Okay.
which is sort of space fascist, but space human supremacists, which isn't exactly good.
Mm-hmm.
There's Xenos, which are all of the various alien races. Orcs, Eldar. Orcs are orcs.
Yeah.
Eldar are space elves. And there's other non-human races that
Right.
are their own thing. There's Necrons, which are kind of like Terminator Borg things.
Okay.
And then there's Chaos, which are all the agents of the dark gods.
Yeah.
And so the real answer is there are no good guys in 40K. Everyone's a bad guy.
Okay.
It's a grimdark setting. That's where they get the term. Grimdark comes from, in the grimdark future, there is only war. It's
Okay.
from Warhammer. There's only one truly optimistic faction in the entire game, and it's one of the minor Xenos factions called the Tau.
Okay.
And their saying is for the greater good.
Okay.
They're kind of assimilate other people, or actually, they're kind of like Rome, how they'll like absorb
Okay.
people, and they're just trying to like spread space communism. So they are not very good, but they're the least bad.
They're the least evil
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Fascist.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I know very little about that world besides just liking the art. That's really kind of all the deeper I've ever gotten on it.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. And
If I get some orc POV fiction of any kind, then I'm into it. That's my only, maybe not a movie, but a series from the orc point of view. I
think you'd be lucky if you got a web series, because it's not very complex. They're really berserker warlike people. They're not like Warhammer. They're not like World of Warcraft orcs. They do not have a deep culture.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Well.
So what do you got?
All right, my first one, I kind of went with a lot of music news stuff. This is not necessarily music news, but a music thing that happened. Exploited frontman Waddy Buchanan collapsed on stage in Colombia on December 10th. This is not even the first time he's had a heart attack on stage.
Sure.
It's actually the second time. But he was rushed to the hospital and is hoping for a recovery. In 2014, same thing happened. He had a heart attack on stage and was rushed to the hospital. Had a quadruple bypass surgery.
Man, he's getting old. He might need to hang it up.
He's 65 years old.
That's not that old, though.
No, but he's
got high mileage.
Yeah, a lot of city miles. Yeah, your ticker only has so many ticks on it, and those they're not methamphetamines, but just amphetamines. Were very big in that scene, especially back in the day. And I don't think he's someone that ever really stopped on the nose candy, and the heart can only take so much pounding.
Yeah, that's not.
But we wish
awesome.
a speedy recovery to Waddy.
All right. So I've got a second piece of news, and this is it for me. And it's not actually it's not a big one, but it's something in the spirit of favorites.
Okay.
This is something I'm looking forward to. And this came out a little bit ago. The boys are getting a spin-off series. It's called Gen V for VOT. And there's a web trailer out there on YouTube, and it's heinous. And it's been a huge hit on Prime. Like The Boys is going strong. It's got huge ratings, and so this is a one of multiple spin-offs planned. And this is following young people at Godalkin University, something like that.
Yeah.
And they're basically like, this is kind of like the New Mutants or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the new generation of...
Generation X, any of those youth series.
Right.
And it should be pretty cool. I was excited by the trailer. I like The Boys. This is my kind of superhero content.
Right.
Where it's self-aware.
Yeah, and it's a lot of social satire.
Exactly.
And, which, not everyone got. It took a few
liked Homelander.
It took a few seasons for certain people to find out Homelander was the villain, and it's like, oof. What?
Yeah, it's funny. Like season 1 comes out, you see a few people post on social media. They're like, Superman and Captain America in one guy. He's awesome.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh, people.
So yeah, I'm stoked for this. I think it's going to be cool.
Did you watch the animated stuff for The Boys? I haven't watched any of that yet.
I did.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it. So that's all I got for
that's
news.
All of your news?
I didn't do a whole lot.
Okay.
I got a couple off the cuff, but let's
all right.
just
Well, then I'll just do my
brisk.
other one. I had a couple minor things, but the other one is another kind of a sadder music thing.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Terry Hall from The Specials. He passed away yesterday.
Saw that.
After it was a brief illness. Not much is being said about it. The family's asking for privacy. But that's a foundational band for me.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky to have seen them multiple times. But oof, that's a tough one.
Yeah, all the Rude Boys are pouring one out.
For sure.
Definitely a loss for punks and all of that. So yeah, so let's get into it. What's our podcast fuel?
Our podcast fuel, since I didn't have a particular subject to theme things to, I went for a beer that I always think I should get this for Dave because it's got this runic logo on it.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
And it's a dark ale, and I always think Dave would love this, but it's just never really fit with anything we've covered.
And the label has swords and feathers. I like to sword fight. I have tattoos of birds.
That's true. So this is Folkvanger. It's a dark saison from Little Beast Brewing in Portland. It's a barrel fermented dark saison using a Norwegian farmhouse strain of yeast, chocolate wheat, and kilned coffee malts, and Callista and Hallertau Blanc hops to produce a perfect beer for this weather. Robust and round, pleasantly dry, and very drinkable. 6.7 ABV.
Yeah, I am a staunch anti-barrel age guy.
It's not barrel aged, it's barrel fermented.
Oh, barrel fermented. Okay,
Yeah.
because I was going to say, this doesn't taste like wood,
Yeah.
which is the problem with barrel aged. And that's
Yeah.
always why people are like, oh, you don't like scotch? It's like, yeah, because scotch comes in 2 flavors, wood or moss.
Peat. It's called peat. I don't like the taste of peat either. Yeah.
I don't like wood or peat.
I do like the taste of wood, I guess. But yeah, no, this isn't like that. And I like the combination of the Norwegian yeast with the kind of Belgian technique. It makes a really interesting beer. I like all these old world farmy beers. Really turn my crank.
And it doesn't really. It's not like a farmhouse ale or anything.
It's not funky.
Yeah, this is a nice dark ale,
and that's that Norwegian yeast as opposed to the Belgian yeast, which gives you that sort of grassy, barnyard funk.
Yeah, this is a winner. This is definitely a winner.
Cool, very good.
I'm on it. If we need more beers after this, by the way, I've got a fridge full of 5440.
You have some, yeah. So when I come over and game, I've been picking out the dark beers because I know you and Carrie don't. Neither one of you like them, so I'm like, all right, here's a porter. No one's gonna drink this.
Yeah, it's not that I highly dislike them. It's just my least favorite.
Yeah.
I will drink them, but what I really use dark beers for when we get like a sampler or whatever is I'll use it for like brine for something I'm gonna put on the smoker.
Oh, nice.
It works all right. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back and get into our Cyberpunk rankings and then our favorites of 2022.
Welcome back, divers. First up, our Cyberpunk Series ranking.
All right, we're gonna start with our 10th place, and then we're gonna go back, or not go back and forth. We'll both reveal our 10th place, then we'll both reveal our 9th place.
Okay.
So on all the way until we have our first place. I'm really curious. I think I know where most of your stuff lays because I saw obviously your star rankings from every episode. But the top 3 are really hard.
Yeah. We had 3 unanimous double 5-star
movies. Yeah.
So we know what they are, but we don't know the order we put them in.
Yeah. And so, and then there's a few in there that I know for a fact I have them several places lower than you do.
Yeah.
So that's okay. 10th place, 12 Monkeys.
That's where you bottom with. Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I like that movie a lot more than you, but I agree. I almost put it in the bottom spot, not because I don't like it, because I do, but because I don't feel that it was appropriate for the list. It was one we subbed it in from an IMDb list, and I don't think it fits the genre at all.
No. And this, spoilers, the end of the show, we're going to talk about upcoming next year. We're going to do a lot more curation on our series.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this was our alpha test of the series format, so I think it went fucking great for an alpha test.
Largely successful.
So what was your 10th place?
My number 10 spot was Minority Report.
Okay,
and that's not to
say that movie.
Not to say that I think it was the worst movie. Or maybe I guess I am saying that it's the worst movie, but it's the only one I didn't enjoy watching.
Okay, because I didn't enjoy 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, I did not enjoy Minority Report. I kind of came around a bit on it on my rewatch, but in general, that middle portion of that movie just completely lost me.
Interesting, because I didn't mind that movie. I thought it was pretty good.
All right. Number 9 for me is Escape from New York.
Me too.
Okay. I like this movie, but
1981. This is
just a little clunky.
This is proto cyberpunk or cyber proto punk. I don't know. Definitely a decent movie, but the thing is all of these movies are decent movies. They're just up against some killers.
Yeah. All these movies are the highest rated of the genre, right? So hypothetically, it's a whole list of 4s and 5s.
Yeah.
So it's really just about personal opinion and stuff, how we rank them. But Escape from New York, as much as I enjoy it, I think it's a really charming movie, but it's just a little clunky. And
there are moments in this movie that I'm like, wow, that's great. And then there are moments where I'm just like, that is so lame. If it's going to rank highly, it needs to have 0. This is so lame.
Yeah, totally.
Moments. So number 8 for me, this is going to be controversial.
Okay.
Dark City.
Oh, okay. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I know you didn't like that one. My number 8 is 12 Monkeys.
Oh, okay.
Which I do like it, but like you said, it's up against really heavy competition.
Yeah, I had to go with Dark City here, not because it's terrible, because it's okay, but honestly, the intro monologue murders this movie.
I know, you should have watched the director's cut.
I know, but I was watching the theatrical cut. You can't have a movie that sucks with one cut and not the other, because that intro reveals the whole plot in like 15 seconds.
That's one of those things where the studio interference is just absurd. Like, you imagine as a director just pulling your hair out when they're like, could you go in and put a monologue at the beginning that explains the plot of the whole movie? And it's like, well, then there's no mystery. And they're like, yeah, we just don't think people will get it. It's really offensive. And it's too bad. So I watched both versions, right? Like, I watched the director's cut and the theatrical cut. The director's cut is much better.
All right.
But still, I'm in around the same spot because I put it at number 7.
Okay, so that doesn't surprise me. Right in the neighborhood for my number 7, Minority Report.
Oh, okay.
I thought that there was some really good action in there. There was some fun. There was some fun moments. I thought that it was just generally a fairly enjoyable movie. It wasn't as good as the rest, because basically from here, I'll say I liked every one of the movies after this.
Yeah.
I would say 10, 9, 8, meh, 7, all right. But then 6 on, I'm thumbs up.
Yep, I agree. So number 6 is Dread.
Okay, so I was very close. I chose RoboCop for number 6.
Okay, yeah.
I knew this would be higher on your list because you love RoboCop.
I do, yeah.
But I just thought it was okay, and it's better than okay. It's good, but there are some moments in that movie that are groaners for me, and I think that I don't know. I kind of feel like it maybe had some dead scenes.
Okay.
Especially with the bad guys.
See, I love all the stuff with the bad guys.
There's a lot of dead scenes.
So this is where, because we decided not to cover Ghost in the Shell because we'd already done an episode on that. This is about where I'd place Ghost in the Shell.
Somewhere like 5.5.
In between 6 and 5, yeah.
Okay, so I have it a little higher than that.
Oh, do you? Okay.
So what's your 5th place movie?
My number 5 is RoboCop.
Okay, so my number 5 is Dread.
Okay,
we just switched them.
Yeah, I just think, they're very similar movies.
Yeah, Carl Urban, though. Come on.
Dread, I'll give you, Dread is much pacier than RoboCop. Like it's
hella cyberpunk.
It rips along, whereas RoboCop kind of plods occasionally.
It doesn't have to be fast. The Blade Runners aren't fast.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, RoboCop's one of my favorite films of all time.
That's a given for you.
So yeah, number 5.
And then I put Ghost in the Shell right here.
Okay.
Kind of about the 4.5. I think it's very clear we have the same top 4 movies now because I haven't heard you say any of these.
Yeah.
So number 4 is Akira.
Yep, same.
This movie's amazing. I hated putting it as low as 4 because this is a masterpiece.
Yeah. So are the next 3.
Yeah.
So it was just like Akira is another one of my favorite movies of all time. So if it's just about how much I love these movies, like Akira and RoboCop would jump up.
Sure.
But so basically, my love for them put them just below the 5-star movies.
Yeah, and I think Akira is something that everybody who's a nerd or into cyberpunk or into anime or whatever,
or just animation, period, not Japanese animation, but just the art of painting cells on Earth.
It's from 1988 and it holds up in this era. All right, so my number 3 movie is Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
I love the movie. I thought it was amazing. I would watch it again. I will watch it again, I'm sure. I couldn't put it above the other 2.
Okay. I did put it above the other 2. And I committed a sacrilege here and put Blade Runner at number 3.
I knew you were going to do that. You're such a shitter.
I really wrestled with it, and it just came down to I just enjoyed Blade Runner 2049 more.
That's okay. It's an arbitrary ranking.
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049 is a fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling is killer. That episode was a joy to do because watching the movie is so legit. Number 2 is The Matrix.
Oh, okay. My number 2 is Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I can't believe you chose The Matrix as your number 1 movie.
I have said multiple times it's a perfect film.
I put Blade Runner as the number 1 movie because it's a perfect film and it is my favorite movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Like, I'm not going to dispute you saying Blade Runner is a perfect film.
I agree with The Matrix too.
Those top 3,
a little less.
You really can just throw it down and pick them up in whatever order because they're all 5-star films as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So I rank them the same, but I had to put them in an order.
It's interesting as I look at mine because I included the years in there. I have them in reverse chronological order, which I don't know. That's just interesting to me that the oldest one is the best. And, I was only 3 years old when it came out. So
it's crazy.
It's just held up.
It has. Blade Runner has just, remained so influential. Like I was thinking as I was considering movies for the movie of the year, and I was thinking about Matt Reeves' The Batman, and I was thinking like that's a pretty Blade Runner movie. Like it owes a lot to that, and it's like Blade Runner's fingerprints have just continued being printed on things.
And that kind of brings us to our favorites list. Some of these it's really hard because this has to be something that was released in 2022.
Right.
It can't just be the thing I listened to the most or the movie I liked the best. Because, I mean, there's a lot of movies that were released in 2021 that I really like, or albums, that I listened to a lot this year that weren't released in 2022.
There's a few things where I go, I was considering something and then I look at it and it's from 2021.
Yeah, me too. So a lot of these are extremely difficult genres to pick for. And for the uninitiated new divers out there, we do album of the year, game, and then show, movie, book, Nick and Dave Deep Dive, the Metaverse episode, and then a wild card in which we can choose anything that we want, which is kind of a meta. What are you into right now?
Yeah. That was something that was your idea, but I've adopted it. I like it.
Yeah. I like the wild card idea. Last year I was a little bit of a dark horse with mine, but this year it's a little more concrete.
Yeah.
A little easier.
And Dave was a little bit of a wet blanket and wouldn't let me have bonuses on all of them. He said to really limit honorable mentions and runners up. So I think I only have one, maybe two honorable mentions.
So I have I looked at all of these and I have honorable mentions. The album is the one where I just have I have like a few honorable mentions that are real quick. I'm not going to even explain them, just going to say the name. But then I have at least one or two more in which I think are worth mentioning for one reason or another.
Okay. They
have significance in some way.
Cool.
So let's go ahead. What's your album of the year?
My album of the year, this probably isn't a surprise because I talked about it a few episodes ago. Free LSD from Off.
Okay, that's really good.
Yeah, this was the album. I just kept going back to this. Like, you're like listening to new releases and everything, and then you get to the end of your playlist, and you're like, well, let's listen to Off again. Yep. And so
I have a few albums like that.
It was just the album I kept going back to. So when Off came out in 2010, it felt like sort of the second coming of Black Flag to people, and they were sort of like that, like almost like an American hardcore throwback band. Then when the new rhythm section, Autry Fulbright II from And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead, and Justin Brown, the drummer who played with Thundercat previously, when they joined the band it leveled up. It became something more avant-garde, progressive, innovative, whatever you want to call it. They stopped being a hardcore nostalgia act and became like the front of a wave, I think, of something.
All right.
And yeah, I just can't stop listening to this album. My runner-up is Lorna Shore, Pain Remains.
Okay.
That's another one, like a lot of people, I became aware of that band when Will Ramos joined. And he is just a bonkers vocalist.
Yeah, he's really good.
Like what the sounds he can make with his throat are crazy. And so that's kind of...
I'm glad you mentioned them because I wanted to put them on an honorable mention, but I had to keep it short.
Okay, good. Yeah. They're a young band that I'm very excited about. Off is a band of old guys.
There's new music and it is good.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so what's your favorite album?
So my album of the year, I'm going to qualify this by saying there's tons of really great albums this year. That's why I had such a hard time, and I have 3 honorable mentions. Even though I knew
you're so greedy.
Nick was gonna look at me like he was gonna give me the business because I told him no. I said it cheapens your pick.
You said it cheapens my pick, and you said it has to mean something or something.
It has to
like
mean
that.
something. That's true. So and so I actually chose something. Yeah, your pick has to mean something. You have to have meaningful decisions. So I chose a band that is really my favorite album of the year, even though it's not on a single metal best of list out there. And I read through a lot of them trying to see if anyone would concur. But then I was looking, oh yeah, this band's just so small. They only have like 3,000 Facebook followers, and it's just a tiny niche band. And I got the album from their Bandcamp. It's called Death White. The album is called Gray Everlasting. On their Metal Archives page, they're listed as gothic metal or melodic doom metal.
Those both I like both those names.
Yeah, every now and then there's some tremolo picking with some melodies here and there. The music is super moody. It's all clean vocals. There's no screaming. This is for fans of Catatonia, late period Opeth, Paradise Lost, Anathema, Ghost Brigade, or Woods of Ypres. This is sad boy music. It's so fucking good. Like, I kept going back to this. Like, the guy's vocals are clean and they're good. Like, he's just, there's just melancholy and there's tangible sadness.
Yeah,
you can just measure it. It's really good. It's got heavy vibes, but it's also super listenable. I just kind of love this sort of gothic music. Like, I mean, I love Typo Negative, which is just clean singing gothic metal. It's just amazing guitar tones, slick melodic leads. Overall, just super great, moody music. These guys are from Pittsburgh, and they've been around for about 10 years. This isn't their first album, but it's got a lot of traction for them, relatively speaking. They're still a small band, but I really dig it. So I'm going to give some honorable mentions with no explanations. Devil Master, Ecstasies of the Never-Ending Night.
That's a cool album.
Boris, Heavy Rocks.
Ooh, yeah.
Grave
those are both good.
And then Grave Pilgrim, Molten Hands, Reach West. Only black metal choice of the year. I said I wasn't going to explain it, but most of my listening this year has been non-black metal. It's been like gothic metal, melodic death metal, like Carcass. Boris, I saw them live. Amazeballs.
Boris is such a crazy band. Like, you never know what Boris is going to do. And
they're just so good. So those are my albums of the year, and I just couldn't stop listening to Death White. I continuously put them on.
Okay, so I know. So Grave Pilgrim and Death White, I need to look into. I know the other two. I know.
Yeah.
So.
All right, cool. So what's your game of the year?
My favorite game this year, again, not a surprise. I've kind of telegraphed all these choices. Sure. It's God of War Ragnarok.
All right.
Here's just a quick rundown of all the awards that the game won at the Game Awards. It won Best Narrative, Best Score and Music for Bear McCreary, Best Audio Design, Best Performance, Christopher Judge as Kratos. Sonny Siolik, who plays Atreus/Loki, was also nominated, so it had two actors up for Best Performance. They also won the award for Innovation and Accessibility and Best Action Adventure. This is the 9th God of War game. It's the first one that I've played, and I feel like I've wasted my life. like I should have been playing all of these games as they came out.
I feel like I need to go play it now.
Yeah, play 2018's God of War, and because it leads directly into it. Okay. I regretted not playing that first. Not because you need it to keep up with anything, but because I feel like I just missed out on so much character development that already happened. I might go back and play that game now. I mentioned last time I got kind of initially frustrated the first time the POV shifted from Kratos to Atreus. Like, I was like, I don't want to play as the kid. I want to play as the big guy with the axe. Yeah. But that quickly went away. Because every time the POV shifts back and forth, there's such like character depth that happens. Like, so much growth happens for both the characters as they're apart from each other. Yeah. And then when they come back together, like, I'm almost crying when they reunite with each other. And it's like, it makes a really strong case. I think I said this before. A really strong case for people that say like video games are a form of cinema. Yeah. Because it is like interactive cinema, I feel like.
For sure.
And the game, especially like these last two installments in the game, are being developed as a series for Amazon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to that. Even though like I'll have played through that story by then, I'll watch it again. Like, sure. That's how much I'm invested in these characters now.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to playing those games.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So what's your game of the year?
So I had a bit of a problem with this category because I played almost no video games this year.
I know last year you said disc golf.
I also wanted to make sure I didn't pull a last year and choose an old game that I just got into. Yeah. Because, I mean, I've been playing a lot of D&D, Song of Ice and Fire, RPG, and basically I just haven't been able to. I haven't played a lot of new stuff. Okay. So I've been doing in the last couple of months, actually. I've been wanting to run a Cyberpunk game in the future down the road, or a Cyberpunk like like Shadowrun or something like that.
Like a tabletop RPG.
Yeah. So something that is malleable enough that I can shape it to how I want to do it. And so I did an exhaustive search and reviewed a ton of cyberpunk based games. And so I actually, the winner of my search was actually one released in 2022. So it was like perfect. And I have it on PDF. I don't have the physical book yet.
That's not like you.
Not like me to what?
To not have the physical book.
Oh yeah, it just came out though. The game just came out. So it's called Cyborg, Cy_Borg, and this is from the producers of Morkborg. They call it like a doom metal album of a fantasy role-playing game. It's like an old school style, very artistic inspired, stylized game by the Stockholm Cartel is what they call themselves, and it's published by Free League Publishing. So I'm just gonna read you. It's about a paragraph, but it really describes this game in a nutshell, or not a nutshell. It just describes it. So, a nano-infested doomsday RPG about cybernetic misfits and punks raging against a relentless corporate hell. Cyborg is a complete rules-light, rage-heavy tabletop role-playing game based on and compatible with Morkborg. A world constantly in flux, shifting, distorting, always reborn as something worse. Destruction by ecological catastrophes, the fallout of history's belligerence. By modern-made miseries, or the blood spilled by the reckless machine of capitalist supremacy. Mankind's greatest ability truly is to destroy itself in creative ways. So this is basically a super bleak, extremely dystopian cyberpunk game where you play low-rung characters. They're simply called punks. And it's rules light, which I always generally prefer because it's super hackable. And that's actually the intent of Free League. They publish a systems document, and they say you can and should publish supplements for this game and sell them. Make them good. Here's graphics packs. Like, use this stuff so it's awesome. And so there's already several small expansions. Like there's a Shadowrun one called Sixth World Stuff. So you can just instantly slot that in for playing if you want to do Shadowrun style using Cyborg. And just so it's a classes optional game. You can just freestyle your character, or they have six classes you can choose to play. And I'm just going to tell you the names of them, and it'll give you a good idea. You have the Shunned Nanomancer, Burned Hacker, Discharged Corp Killer, Orphaned Gearhead, Renegade Cyber Slasher, and Forsaken Gangoon.
I love it.
I was looking at these and I'm like, God, I want to play a fucking Renegade Cyber Slasher. That's my shit.
I like Nanomancer too. That's really cool. That's very evocative. And when you were talking about it, I was flipping through images and stuff, and it's got that quality of like first edition Shadowrun or first edition White Wolf games, like when they were just like a little grittier before.
This is definitely grim. This game is much like have a backup character concept. You might die.
Well, and I mean gritty, like just
the art style,
slightly amateurish. You know what I mean? Like it's not slick. It looks rough, and that's part of what always appealed to me about role-playing game stuff was there was like a punk vibe to everything.
And that is extremely intentional. This is part of the OSR, as it's known, the old school revival, where there's a whole wave of games that are all done in that old school, like 80s, 90s way where everything has that vibe to it. Shout out to the illustrator that does all the art for the books. His name is Johan Noor. So this is really dope. I'm excited for this game. unlike I mean, I haven't been excited for a game like this in quite a while. And one thing I really like about it is how not only is it hackable, because I hack every game and homebrew for it, this is encouraged. They want you to do it. They pull they pull the curtain up so you can see what's behind and what's making it tick, just so you can design your own content for it. So this is Cyborg, published by Free League is my pick. You can get it anywhere like Amazon, whatever. So nerds should go and seek that out.
Excellent.
So how about your favorite show this year? We've had a lot to choose from.
Yeah. My favorite show, and again, I've already telegraphed this, is Andor.
Okay.
It is developed by Tony Gilroy, who was co-writer of Rogue One. And the series follows thief-turned-rebel spy Cassian Andor during the 5 years that lead up to the events of Rogue One. And so I've never seen the Bourne movies, right? That's where Tony Gilroy comes from. He wrote the Bourne trilogy.
They're pretty good.
And then he directed the Bourne Legacy. So I wasn't really familiar with him, but I loved Rogue One. Rogue One I thought was an excellent film.
It is.
And was like one of those like very few examples of grown-up Star Wars. And then Andor is the same thing, and it's actually, I think, even darker than Rogue One is.
Nice.
And so Tony Gilroy is interested in exploring what it takes to get someone from the point of view of being, like a sort of like petty criminal who's dissatisfied with the government to a hardcore, to a rebel, right? Or a terrorist, and what it takes to radicalize someone, and what they have to go through, and, how that happens. And then at the same time, it's telling parallel stories. It's telling stories within the Empire and like what's going on there and other places in the rebellion. And it's just so refreshing to have adult Star Wars as opposed to toy commercial Star Wars. Because I love Star Wars.
Yeah. And
it's a complicated, nuanced universe, or it can be, and so often it isn't. So I just adored Andor. Diego Luna is incredible in it. God, who else? Stellan Skarsgård is just amazing. Genevieve O'Reilly that plays Mon Mothma is great. It's great cast. Everything's great about Andor.
I haven't seen a single episode of it. I keep meaning.
I thought you were gonna watch it at Christmas time. It's almost.
Yeah.
So you're on Christmas break now. You need to binge it.
Yeah, I should. I bet you I probably can. We're going down to visit relatives. So
yeah, your brother-in-law's a nerd.
Yeah.
He's going to want to watch this.
He's probably already seen it.
He has. He's like, you haven't watched Andor?
What's wrong with you?
What kind of nerd are you? You're like, I was researching Cyborg, the RPG.
I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. Like, I finished that Ronin book. I've been in 40K.
Speaking of Star Wars, so what did you think of that?
Oh, it was really good.
You did like Ronin.
So good. I have been researching Star Wars RPGs as well. Like, I've been looking into the I can't remember what it's called, Edge of the Empire. I don't know, it just looks super rad. I think that and I'm actually having lunch with a buddy tomorrow who is an experienced GM for that game, who just moved to Vancouver from Los Angeles. So I'm going to talk to him about that. Maybe I can sucker him into running a Star Wars game.
So you actually get to play and not run a game?
That'd be pretty dope. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this. No, I'm pretty transparent about wanting to play cool games. So my favorite show of the year, this year we had a ton of big name fantasy shows to choose from. We had Lord of the Rings, we had just everything. It seemed like we just had
House of the Dragon.
Just a shotgun approach. And I chose House of the Dragon.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah.
So, I didn't mean to step on your toes.
No, totally
there.
Fine.
I thought you were going to throw a curveball and pick something else.
Pick Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
That was Carrie's pick. I chose House of the Dragon because I really enjoyed the book Fire and Blood. I really like the Targaryens and in in the book series where they're talked about, like when they're being discussed, when they talk about the dance of the dragons and all of that, I'm always really curious about it. But you never get any of that. It's all background knowledge in the main series. So seeing this on screen in earnest, it was really cool for me. I'm a huge fan of the series. I think that I really enjoyed all the different characterizations, like Rhaenyra and Daemon and King Viserys, and it's just like so many great characters and
a lot of good performances.
Yeah, excellent casting.
Yeah,
like Emma Darcy was just killer in their roles. So I mean, I'm just really stoked on this show. I'm looking forward to the next season of it, because we're going to actually be getting into some more really cool plot seeds, or like plot seeds, dragon seeds.
they're called eggs.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh,
what's up, noob? Dragon seeds are people who have a drop of
the dragon blood,
who can bond with a dragon. And Daemon, spoilers if you haven't read the books, Daemon puts out a call, and he's trying to get people to come because the Blacks, Rhaenyra's faction, they have a lot of dragons on Dragonstone. So they're going to try to get people to bond with the dragons and be on their side. And then they have more dragon riders. And so we're going to get to see a bunch of really cool characters like Hugh the Hammer and just all these cool dragons. So I figured I would call out my favorite character in the show and my favorite dragon in the show and see what yours were.
Oh, okay.
So my favorite character, probably predictably, was Daemon.
That is predictable.
Yeah. I mean, he's a total rogue. He's not a good guy. He's morally gray. He does a lot of bad things, but I like his swag.
That's fair. He has a lot of swag.
How about you? What's your favorite character?
Rhaenyra. I don't know if that is. I don't know which one is my favorite though, between grown-up Rhaenyra and teenage Rhaenyra. I love them both in different ways.
So the teenage Rhaenyra, I saw a meme where it showed her and she was making kind of a pouty face, and it had the picture of that little goat that's making the little pouty faces, and it looked exactly like her. So now all I can think of with teenage Rhaenyra is a little goat. So I go with
with the grown up one. Yeah. So that's Millie Alcock is the teen Rhaenyra, and Emma Darcy is the adult Rhaenyra. But yeah, Rhaenyra is my favorite character.
So basic.
It is. It feels basic.
You should say Viserys at least. He was my runner-up.
Viserys is a great. It's
and the acting.
He's one of those characters where, and that's Paddy Considine that plays him. It elevates all of the thing that I loved about this show was how it took these names in a history book, because that's how Blood and Fire is presented, and developed them as characters, and gave them motivations and let us into back rooms and or when they go and have talks by what I call it the brand cam, when they go and talk by the heart tree. It's because it's like, it's a brand can watch that later as the three-eyed raven, and it's like it expands on these stories and makes them deeper than they are presented in the book. Yeah,
because Viserys is just listed as like kind of an ineffectual king who made the wrong decision on his heir, and so that's kind of him. But he was so elevated in this show and this performance. I mean, like even at the end when he's on his deathbed and Rhaenyra and Daemon bring their son and they say, "Oh, he's named Viserys," and he smiles. It's like a name fit for a king.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh man, it just humanizes him so much. Like he's not just a bad king. He happened to have been a fairly mediocre king, but he was a good man. He loved his family.
He meant the best. Yeah. And that's the sort of thing that's not really, you can't know that the way it's presented in the book.
Exactly. And so I really like that. So what's your favorite dragon?
I'm refreshing so I don't get the names wrong. You go with yours, and then I'll have it settled by the time you get back.
I gotta go with Sea Smoke.
Oh, Sea Smoke!
He looks so sick. Like, that dragon is just the best looking dragon, and he's just. I mean, he's awesome. I love Sea Smoke. So I mean, it's hard not to go with Caraxes, the Bloodworm, because he's just so grim, or Vagar. But I mean,
I think, but Caraxes is an ugly dragon.
He is ugly, but he's got a lot of
yeah.
he's got a lot of character to him. Like, Damon's doing some crazy shit, and then Caraxes' head like comes into the scene.
Yeah, and he's so long and wormy.
Yeah.
I mean, going through it, and I'm just being basic like this, but it's Cyrax.
You like Rhaenyra's dragon?
I like Rhaenyra, and I like her dragon, because the dragon's always they always represent, like, because of the way they bond with the characters and reflect the characters. There's just something similar about them.
Yeah.
Sea Smoke is another gorgeous dragon, and I was trying to see which one is Rhaella's dragon, which is her.
Oh, I can't remember the name of her.
Is it
dragon.
Meleys?
I guess I have to memorize all these dragon names.
Rhaenys dragon is Meleys. Because I have to kind of give it to Meleys for just fucking shit up at the coronation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, if you don't like Rhaenys, there's something wrong with you. That's an amazing character.
Yeah, Rhaenys, the queen that wasn't, is incredible too. But yeah. House of the Dragon was good.
It was a good one. All right, so let's move on to movies. You want to go, or you want me to go?
You go. I've gone first. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was looking at this. I didn't see a lot of movies in the theater, so that made it a tough one for me. But as I was looking through lists of movies released in 2022, one just immediately popped out that I had to choose.
Okay.
Northman.
Oh, yeah.
So good. It was amazing. I mean, this is a total art film. If someone was looking to get into this for like a straightforward like adventure, Viking adventure, oh no. This is a revenge art film, and it elevates all of the mysticism and brings it to the fore. I love how they call back to the sagas with like the named sword and how they have like these weird restrictions and how they do these crazy prophecies and stuff. I just think that this movie was extremely stylistic and it was beautiful, and I don't really care that it didn't do amazingly in the box office.
It's doing good on streaming. Like, it's doing gangbusters for Peacock, which I think is where it's living right now.
It's really a good movie.
Yeah. Don't ever read the comments on Facebook about people think about this movie. It's so frustrating, because it's like it's a lot of that show Vikings is better than this stuff, and it's like, oh my god, like.
So what you're saying is that you like Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah. No, The Northman. It definitely is an art film. It's Robert Eggers. I still haven't seen the Witch, but I saw The Lighthouse, which was also it's a black and white movie about Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe living in a White House. So a lighthouse, excuse me, is also definitely an art film. I love Robert Eggers. He only has, I think, three movies to his credit, but they're all masterpieces. Yeah. So yeah. Fingers crossed for his remake of Nosferatu.
Is that what he's doing?
That's what he's got next up.
I'll watch that like instantaneously. This is one of my categories where I did have an honorable mention because I actually changed gears. I was going to choose this as my main one until I saw Northman.
I'm glad you picked Northman though, because that was a great movie, and like you said, not enough people have seen it.
Yeah, it's so good. So my honorable mention is Prey.
Oh yeah,
really good.
Too.
It was super enjoyable to watch. It was extremely cool. I really liked the main protagonist. She was awesome, and I like this idea that a predator story can be done in any time, in any place, and it can be really unique. And I think this was awesome. So I'm
Amber Midthunder is who plays Naru, the protagonist in that story. And she's awesome. That's the best Predator movie since the original one.
I agree.
It might actually be, I have a hard time saying it. It might be better than the original Predator.
Man, I don't know. That first one's so good. I love the ensemble.
I love the Predator. So I just say it's a tie. This is like Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049.
They go so well together.
They are of a pair, but it is definitely superior to all the other Predator movies.
Yeah, those are kind of garbage. So
I kind of like Predator too.
So what do you go with for your favorite movie?
My favorite movie of the year was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
Directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, collectively known as Daniels. The film, this is from the A24 website. The film is a hilarious and big-hearted sci-fi action adventure about an exhausted Chinese-American woman, played by Michelle Yeoh, who can't seem to finish her taxes. I love this movie. I like to have my cake and eat it too. Like, I like genre, tropey, entertaining action movies that are about something beyond selling products. That, you know,
it's also heartwarming.
That's also heartwarming. That's also has like an ideology. That also, like, you know, like I compare it to the Matrix, where it's like it's a genre, sci-fi martial arts movie that's about living a meaningful life in a meaningless world, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and it's full of like special effects and stunt work, and you know, if people don't know the concept, like the sci-fi concept of it is this idea that people are they're able to access the abilities of other versions of themselves from across the multiverse.
Yeah.
And so that leads itself to all sorts of crazy, fun action scenes, but ultimately it's just about like a struggling working class immigrant family dealing with like marriage problems and generation divide and paying taxes. That's like getting their taxes filed is like a major theme of the whole movie. And I just love this. I love this movie. My runner up or my honorable mention, I mentioned a little bit earlier, is Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Okay.
For the same reason as Andor. These things don't have to just be toy commercials. They can be like IP properties can be high art product or like high art.
Oh man, high
film.
art for a Batman movie.
You should watch. It's if you like as much as you like Blade Runner.
Yeah,
you should watch The Batman.
Okay, I mean, I tend to like Batman movies.
Yeah.
I generally like them.
It's a very noir, gritty Batman movie, but it's long. It's a 3 hour.
Oh.
But you just picked the Northman. You can't love
that's about shit that I love.
You love the Batman. You love the Batman.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good. All right, so my favorite book of the year. Mm-hmm. This is another one of those categories that's just a bitch to choose.
It is because you find a lot of your books will be the year before.
Or the last few years. Mm-hmm. Or like I discover a series way after it's published, but it's new to me.
Yeah.
And I read it, but I did read several books that were published last year. And so I was looking at them and I was trying to figure out which one to choose. And I ended up with Dead Man's Hand. And this is the debut novel by James J. Butcher, the son of Jim Butcher.
Yeah.
And this is book 1 of the Unorthodox Chronicles. And the reason I chose this book is because I am genuinely looking forward to book 2. As soon as they announce it, I'll pre-order it. Like sight unseen.
And you've talked about this before, I think.
I talked about this on one of the episodes about how it's really fun. So basically, it's slightly derivative of his father's work in that it's urban fantasy. It's centered on a protagonist who has magical abilities in a modern setting. But that's kind of where it ends. This is definitely urban fantasy, but it's not a superhero fan. It's not like a superhero power fantasy. This guy is really struggling, and it's interesting. The reason why I really liked this book was because I feel like I could really relate to this character when I was a young man working a dead-end job and all this stuff. And so if you are interested at all in Dresden Files or urban fantasy, but you're daunted by the fact that there's like 18 books in that series or whatever, this is a great spot where you could start. It's one and done. Decide whether you like it. And it's well done. It's polished. It doesn't have, like, if you start Dresden Files, the first couple of books were his first couple of books, period. So they're not polished. Whereas this book, Dead Man's Hand, it has the benefit of being extremely well done and having, you know, like a father who's an expert at the craft to give you some advice and whatnot. So I definitely think this is worth checking out. I used a credit on it on Audible. And I'll definitely use credits for as they come out, slowly but surely.
Cool.
How about you? What's your book of the year?
All right, I cheated a little bit on this one because I had a few books that were from this year that I had read, but none of them felt like book of the year material, or were like they, even if I enjoyed them, they weren't like where I could say like, this is something I want to talk about on the podcast. Yeah. And so I real quick went and looked on Audible and started looking for something from an author that, that is kind of one of my go-tos that had a new book out this year. And so I started listening to The Other Side of Nothing, The Zen Ethics of Time, Space, and Being by Brad Warner, a reader-friendly guide to Zen Buddhism ethics for modern times. Brad Warner, since his first book, Hardcore Zen, came out in 2003, it was just extremely influential on me, and I have read all of his books as they've come out. Sincere thank you to whoever the merchandiser at Barnes & Noble was that cross-stocked that book in the music section, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have found it. But it was like Brad Warner, his writing just always felt like specifically designed to talk to me. He's an American Zen monk. He played bass in a hardcore band called Zero Defects in the 80s. And then, in the 90s, he lived in Japan and worked for Subarai Productions making Ultraman TV shows. And then he became a Zen monk while he was over in Japan. And his books are sort of like part personal anecdote, autobiography, part ancient scripture and sutra. And he combines those things in a way that makes ancient writing feel contemporary. He modernizes things and explains the context that it came from. And so this new book I'd say it's probably his best book in a long time. Since Don't Be a Jerk was the last one that was, I think, one of his really strong books. But I'm not finished with it yet. I just started it yesterday, and I'm just sort of jamming through it. You. But because he's such an influential writer to me, I felt like this was a better choice than anything else that I had. And the book came out this year, so I'm standing by it.
Yeah, I almost chose a book that I'm just getting into, but I decided to go back to one because I'd like to promote the genre. But I almost chose David Goggins' next book, where it's not really a self-help book. It's more like a motivation book. Yeah, it's called Never Finished. And his first book was called Can't Hurt Me, and it was kind of his autobiography and a motivational story. Yeah. So I almost pulled a Nick here and chose a thinkier book than the one I chose, which is like bubblegum fiction. But for sure, I think there's room for both. I can't go heavy all the time, and I can't go light all the time.
You have to. That's very Buddhist. The middle way. Yes. You have to. The middle way is the way of balance.
Yeah, like I'm reading a 40K book right now, but I'm going to be reading Goggins next.
Okay, cool.
All right, so we're moving right along.
I know,
and that's great. My favorite Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse episode was episode 42.
Oh, which one was that?
It was The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
That creep can roll.
That was a fun one.
Both of us gave that movie 5 stars. This one was from March. It was March 15th, so it was a long time ago. This is a great movie. It's one of my all-time favorites. I still quote this movie. Every time I'm in a grocery store, I think about this movie.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to record. It's the type of episode I really like doing.
Yeah.
I think it's an example of a movie that I'm always interested in talking about. I'm always interested in talking about The Big Lebowski, but I'm interested in doing episodes about movies that I love. I mean, who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
It's
definitely more fun when we're into it.
Yeah. And so this was my favorite episode. Sometimes I don't really go back and listen to our episodes, but this one might be fun to do because I remember laughing a lot. I'm going to give an honorable mention though. I'm going to give an honorable mention to episode 46, which was One Piece, Devil Fruit. That's basically a Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah.
From May when Nick was sick and Diver Carey filled in. I almost chose this one as my favorite, just because it was so different.
It's the only episode I listened to.
Yeah, and it's the only episode that anyone other than you or I is on. So it was a really fun episode. I learned a lot about One Piece. It has nothing to do with Dragon Balls, by the way.
Yeah, no, I like that episode too, and I actually listened to it, and it was kind of perfect for me, who's like kind of feels like they need to know a little bit about everything, but don't have the gumption to put in the thousands of episodes of One Piece.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it was very much like that. She made it very accessible, and the Lebowski episode was in the running for me too.
Okay,
but that was ultimately not my choice.
So which one did you choose?
I chose episode 49, Heck Blazer, where we did Constantine. And so my favorite episodes are the ones where, first of all, I get to see something I've never seen before because I like new things, but where we're both having such a good time. And Constantine was such a maligned movie.
Everyone hated that
that's
shit.
become a cult classic, and now it's even getting a sequel. Finally, years later,
and we get Keanu, right?
Yeah, and so
that's awesome.
That's that meta bump that they can, thank us for raising the profile.
That episode has been doing really well on the downloads, and I think that is why there's a sequel.
We generated just enough buzz to push it over the line.
I think Keanu kind of owes his career to us because every time we do a Keanu episode, that episode does well and it pushes him forward.
He is a reoccurring thing.
We are the winds in his sail.
or the birds that pick the seeds from his dung.
we're the little what, nurse fish, or what do they call it?
They hang on the bottom of the shark.
Sharks, yeah. We're that to Keanu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we keep going back to him. He's I guess he's just our favorite.
He's kind of amazing, and we're definitely going to do some John Wick content.
Yep, that's coming up. Yeah. So all right. Wild card time.
Wild card. All right. So last year I chose the COVID vaccine because I like being able to go out in public again. This year I wanted to choose something as a true what are you into right now, something that I could recommend to the divers that has really made a difference for me this year. And so I'm going to do something as simple as recommend a product.
Okay.
So that you can go and buy it after this episode. I am recommending the Bose Quiet Comfort Bluetooth earbuds with noise canceling.
Oh, buds, not over the ear headphones.
This changed everything for me. I listen to them all the time. Like I'll have one in or two. When two are in and I have the noise canceling on, it's amazing. I can't hear anything. It's perfect. When I'm using one, I have no noise canceling on, so I can hear everything, but I'm listening to my audiobook while I'm puttering around and working on projects or doing chores or doing whatever. I got these as a gift from my mother-in-law when I got my master's degree. She wanted to congratulate me, and so I think Carrie recommended that she get me some nice headphones that I've been needing some good ones. I gotta say these they're expensive for sure, but they're really good. The noise canceling is on point. They're extremely comfortable to wear. I wear them for hours at a time, and it's no big deal. And before I had these, I never thought it was worth the money to buy premium earbuds, like like the AirPods or Pixel Buds or anything like that. I always thought it was just a waste of money, and so I had some cheap ones, like $30 or $20 ones, or whatever, that were throwaway. And they were never that comfortable. They were never had great sound quality. They didn't have any noise canceling, and I just didn't find myself using them that often. And now that I have comfortable ones that just instantly attach, they have a charging case, so they just recharge when you take them out. I use them all the time. I absolutely love this product, and if I lost them, I would immediately buy some new ones. It would be like zero hesitation. I will drop the money immediately. I might even drive to Best Buy so I can have them today.
So how do they hold up? Can you mow the lawn wearing them? Do they work? Yep. And you can hear it?
Yep.
That's good.
I put the noise canceling all the way on. I put them in, and I mow the lawn, and I can hear my audiobook just fine.
And they're comfortable in your ears.
Yeah.
See, I don't usually like earbuds, but I've got some Bose over-the-ear headphones that I love.
So they're the kind where, so you like put them in, you stick them in, and this is really great pod because the divers can see my hands.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
he's holding his hands over his ears.
Yeah, so you put them in, and they're sort of oblong on the outside, almost oval. You put it in, and then you turn it forward, and it has a little rubberized piece that rolls forward in your ear, and it kind of like nests into the fold right there. And there's a few different size ones, so you can pick the right one. Mine just happened to be the medium, which it came attached. You're thinking it sounds like it will hurt or whatnot. You don't even notice it because it doesn't actually like go into the fold. It just tucks under this ridge that's right kind of behind your ear hole or above your ear hole. It tucks under that ridge, and then they're in.
Okay.
And you don't even notice. You just forget that they're in.
Okay.
It's totally awesome.
And you say they have different like silicone.
Yeah, they have different size rubber silicone hardware in the package.
Yeah, because I guess that's part of the problem with the earbuds is they're kind of a one size fits all that I don't like how they feel in my ear.
I had some hard plastic ones that were like that, knockoff AirPods, and they would fall out. Like I would just be doing something as simple as working out. Like I'd be jump rope, skipping rope at the gym, and one would pop out. These ones, no. I wear them to the gym. They do not come out. I wear them when I'm doing Pel work, which is sword fighting practice on a wooden dummy. Yeah. They do not pop out as active as I get. So
because with regular AirPods or whatever, your two choices are jam it in your ear where it hurts or leave it loose where it's going to fall out.
Yeah.
And so this sounds better than that.
The Bose system is a good system. It works out. And I'm now on board, even though I used to be kind of a Bose hater back in the day because it's not an audiophile thing. It was like
it's a very impressive to people with more money than taste.
Yeah. But these are great for what they do.
Okay.
Highly recommend. So that's my wild card. I wanted to be real this year because last year it was a nebulous thing. Although I did recommend everyone get the vaccine. But I think that this is
vaccine's so cool. I did it 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is one where if you're a diver who has been hemming and hawing or you're unhappy with your current headphone setup, just get on Amazon. Order the Bose Quiet Comfort. Just ignore the price tag and just get it.
That's easy for you to say, Mr. 1%.
1%, yeah, right. These were a gift anyway. I didn't buy them. Anyway, so what's your wild card?
My wild card is on theme with yours. It's the return of live music.
Oh, okay.
So in 2022, I reckon I have seen more shows in 2022 than I saw probably the 3 years before.
Yeah, we just went to Amon Amarth and Carcass and Obituary and Cattle Decapitation.
Oh, that was a good show.
That was killer.
For titans of death metal, all distinct from each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people don't quite give death metal the credit for how varied a genre it is.
We had 4 very different death metal bands that were all excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, each one was excellent. And all the shows I've seen this year have been excellent. I've seen, well, first of all, just I had kind of fallen out of the habit of going to shows over the last, getting older, and you're like, oh, I don't want to take a day off work, and I'll be tired, and talk yourself out of it. But then having 2 years of nothing, really, when shows came back, I was like, oh, I want to go see that. I want to go see that. And I kind of made the time to go see everything. And I saw young bands like Amyl and the Sniffers, Turnstile, and Lorna Shore. I saw bands from our youth like Nine Inch Nails and Deftones, and things from before our youth like The Cult and the Circle Jerks. And then I saw like bands that are not exactly old bands or not young bands like The Interrupters and Twin Temple and AFI and Amon Amarth. And that's just the headlining bands. So for all of these shows, there's 2 to 3 or 4 opening bands for all of these.
Yeah.
I just saw so much live music, and it felt like a dormant part of myself was resurrected going to all these shows. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I love this. Like, this is kind of my favorite thing that makes me feel alive, and it was good to get back to it. I have to say, I did catch COVID. So it's not without risk, because I got COVID at the Amyl and the Sniffer show, which
you were sniffing,
which led me to miss Henry Rollins and Bauhaus, which are both like foundational artists for me. But all things considered, even with the money lost and not getting to see those artists, I wouldn't change anything.
And I went to both of those, and they were fucking amazing. When I left that Henry Rollins show, because I've seen Henry Rollins a few times now, I was like reeling from how good it was. Rollins was delivered, and then you gave me your tickets for Bauhaus. I had tickets.
I
had crappy tickets to Bauhaus. I mean, not crappy; they were okay. Because we just, luck of the lottery, like you don't get to choose. So we had middle of the house. So they would have been just fine. But your tickets were like third row. Yeah. And so you just gave me your seats, and we went up there, and it was killer. Oh my God. I can't even think of the word for it. Like, I would say that I wasn't a huge Bauhaus fan. It's Carrie's band. Now I'm a big Bauhaus fan. That was so good.
They're such a great band. And because Peter Murphy went into rehab shortly thereafter, and they ended up canceling the rest of that tour.
And Peter Murphy destroyed in that show. His voice was so strong and so good. I highly enjoyed Bauhaus.
So
I agree with you. Live music.
I was very sad to miss those shows, but I have seen both those artists before.
Sure. I had never seen Bauhaus.
And so as a whole, like, I went to more things than I missed. Yeah. And, not that I don't want to make light of catching COVID because it's very bad for some people. To me, I guess ultimately the fact that I got COVID was worth all of the cool things I got to go do.
Yeah, I think I've had this discussion with you and probably a few other people where you have to do your own risk assessment for your own personal health. Like, do you have respiratory issues? Is your age, all the risk factors? Do you have those? Are you vaccinated and boosted, et cetera? Yeah. You have to do your own risk assessment. And so I'm not going to make light of all the, the hundreds of thousands of people that died from COVID. But for people in our segment who have relatively few risk factors at all and were inoculated or were vaccinated, going to shows, the risk assessment is low. Yeah. Even if you catch it, the likelihood of it being more than just a bummer isn't going to be
It was a bummer.
It was a bummer.
And it was an expensive bummer. But it's still worth it. Like, I think ultimately that's where I come down. It was worth it. And when I look back on this year, it'll be the year I went and saw all these amazing bands. It won't be the year that I was sick with COVID for a week.
Yeah, I want to go to a lot more shows. Like, every time every time tickets are up, just hit me up because I'll probably say I want to go.
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing that's got to be
get back
forward.
to going to shows because
we used to do that when we were teenagers and early 20s. We just went to everything all the time.
That's how my niece is 19 and she's like that, where she goes to like 3 or 4 shows a week.
Wow.
And I'd be like, yeah, I used to do that when I was
your
your age. That's how I was rocking too.
Even like crappy bands or bands you never heard of. Just going to shows.
Because we didn't really have the internet. I can remember nights where you and I drove around in my Mazda and we drove past all of the music venues and read the marquee. You're like, who's playing here tonight? And you'd be like, huh, the Young Dubliners. Well, let's check that out.
I remember seeing that band.
Yeah, we went and watched an Irish folk band just because we just wanted to go see music.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm totally. I still have that young dude in me somewhere.
All right. Well, why don't we take a break and we'll come back with our modified final segment. Welcome back, divers. It's time for that final segment. Normally, this is where I ask Dave, what are you into right now? But we're going to take this time to kind of talk about what we've got coming up in the new year for 2023.
Yeah, I'm into changing some things so we can improve the show.
Yeah. We've got some new format ideas. Hopefully, we're talking about moving away from our beat-by-beat format and getting into, Dave called it a more holistic approach, and I really liked that.
Yeah, we're still deep diving. Don't think that this is Nick and Dave short shrift every movie.
Short shrift the metaverse.
Yeah, this is a deep dive, but we want to get away from talking about what happened in at every beat in the movie, and we want to talk about the topics that really matter, like the storytelling and all of that.
Yeah, so we're probably going forward, we're going to start out with a synopsis, and then I've kind of broken it down into categories like storytelling, visuals, audio, themes, performances, and overview. And just kind of go into those things and talk, instead of talking about what happens, talk about what the movie was about.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Rather than spending a lot of time saying, and then this happened, and then this happened, I want to spend more time talking about the things I'm passionate about in the movies, like the performances, the lighting, the sound design, the storytelling, what the director was trying to convey. Those are the things that really matter.
Because I felt like our beat-by-beat format, it was useful when we started out, some 2, almost 3 years ago, as a structure to work on. But now I find myself trying to find time to squeeze in talking about the things I want to talk about in between talking about, and then he got in the car and he drove across town. Like a lot of time is wasted talking about mundane happenings.
So even if you haven't seen a movie and you want to listen to the episode where we talk about the movie, we'll still tell you what happened in the story.
Yeah, for sure.
You probably didn't care that, and then he climbed down the fire escape. That's not salient to the discussion. So you can still listen to these episodes without having ever seen the movie, and we'll write our synopsis sections and with that in mind. This is a discussion for someone who probably hasn't seen the movie. Not that
I think. Do you think people listen and let us just spoil movies? And they go,
I think so. Like, how many people saw The Hunger? Like, we did that one. Yeah. And then there's other movies. I can't even remember the name of them that I know that nobody's seen. Like the one where the car flies away at the end.
People have seen Repo Man.
Nobody's seen Repo Man.
Everything we've cut, with the exception of the fan edits, which have been unpopular episodes, we'll say.
Those have been pretty unpopular.
With the exception of the fan edits, everything we've covered has been like something that has a deep core fan following.
I still think that summarizing things in a way that's understandable for someone who doesn't want to go back and watch a movie from 1982, that's still important, even if it's just talk about what happened in the story.
Interesting. I wonder, because I know sometimes the divers message me or at me on Twitter or whatever, and they will say how, like, I haven't listened to this episode yet because I haven't never seen that movie. I don't want to watch it first.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think a lot of but probably there are people that listen and then decide like, oh, that sounded like a cool movie.
Yeah, just like we will, like we'll go back and we'll watch a movie or a TV show that is based on a book or a video game that we like. Mm-hmm. I don't think that our podcast makes the movie not worth watching.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to our Blade Runner 2049 episode and you haven't seen that movie, I think it actually will just enhance your enjoyment of watching it, because you'll notice all the details that we're calling out, like when it switches from rain to snow and things like that.
Sometimes I'll start listening to a podcast and then the movie will sound really good, and I will stop the podcast and go, I'm going to go listen to this before the podcast spoils it, or I'm going to go watch that movie, and then I'll come back and revisit this podcast. So I want, it's interesting. Divers, we don't know any of this. We don't know what you're very mysterious to us. So we don't know what you do unless you tell us.
Yeah. So we're just going to keep going forward as that we're a pro spoiler podcast. We've never been spoiler free. Otherwise, what's the point? You can't deep dive spoiler free. So that's sort of the changes of the format that we're talking about. Did you have more on that?
No, I was going to get into, our next couple things, because we have a short series.
What are they?
So the short series, and I'll give a little background. You and I have a group chat that we're in for a role playing game that we play, and certain like best 5-star movie, like these topics would come up, and 3 movies got mentioned as like perfect or 5-star science fiction action movies. Mm-hmm. And so those movies were Terminator 2, Aliens, and The Abyss.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, those movies are all directed by the same guy, and they came out all in a row. So why don't we do James Cameron, Imperial Phase sci-fi, and do the Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, and Terminator 2? Because that's a hell of a block of 4 movies.
Yeah, and so the series theme is James Cameron's Imperial Phase.
Yeah, and this is because obviously Avatar 2, The Way of Water, neither of us have seen it.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
But, it's the most expensive movie ever made. We're going to go back to when he's a little leaner, hungrier. Yeah. Doesn't have $400 million to drop on a movie. Because I bet the budget for Terminator is probably like in the thousands. it's not many millions of dollars.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing some of these shorter series, things that are tighter. I don't think that we have to be exhaustive. I'm not really interested in doing franchise series unless it's something we're both really interested in. Yeah. I'm also not super interested in doing like somebody's entire filmography unless, again, it's something we're both really interested in. Like I'm super interested in a Tarantino thing with his Imperial Phase,
which that was what we were going to go into next, but we've just sort of delayed that to do the Cameron thing first.
Yeah.
And then in between Cameron and Tarantino, there's a new John Wick movie coming out.
Yeah.
So we're going to do we've talked a lot about how I've never seen the John Wick movies. So we're just going to do a John Wick episode, and we're going to watch those 3 films and kind of get me up to speed on John Wick.
We'll summarize the plots of them, of all of the movies, and we'll talk about. We'll focus on the 4th movie for the episode, but we'll summarize all of them and kind of meta discuss them. I might watch all 3 of them in advance just to prime myself. I saw them all in the theater.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing. There's no particular reason why I've never seen these movies. I just never have seen them. And then as more of them come out,
you have a backlog.
It takes more of a commitment to get caught up on it. And so it's like, because I remember I think it was maybe when the last one came out, you messaged me. You're like, you want to go see John Wick 3? And I was like, I haven't seen 1 and 2. And so, yes, but no. Like, I don't have... Do you have 4 hours for me to binge the other 2 movies real quick?
Yeah, and so talking about seeing new movies, we've talked about doing a new format of episodes or reprising our hot take episodes.
Yeah.
Where we go and see a movie And then we immediately come back to the pod cave and record a reaction episode. With no research or whatever. Maybe we've done pre-research before the movie with some notes. But generally speaking, they'll probably be shorter episodes. They definitely won't be chronological. We won't have had time to ruminate on it a long time. And those are going to be... those are going to probably not be extremely common. But they might be our regular every 2 week sequential, but we might also just squeeze one in at some point. We talked about if we wanted to try to make the numerical sequencing of the episodes sacrosanct, where every 2 weeks, where we're adding in 0.5s. Nah, we don't care about the number. We'll just, even if it's only a half an hour episode, we're still it's just gonna be the next in the sequence, even if it's a bonus episode out of sequence. I like that. I like the idea of doing these hot takes because they're fun. Like, I really think we could have done like a Northman hot take. I went and saw that with my with a buddy, and it was really good. I wanted to talk about it right afterward. So we'll have to decide if we want to do that with John Wick or if we want to do a little more of a traditional, because it's 4 movies. But I'm sure there will be movies coming out that are standalone.
Where that's going to fall, it wouldn't be on time for an episode, like when the 4th movie comes out. So I was thinking we were going to do a whole movie on the 3, and then we'd find a time for that hot take to squeeze it in.
Yeah, okay. So do a whole episode on the 3, and then do a hot take on 4, where we squeeze it in the series, and we'll just release it. And if you are, depending on what format you're listening to us on, every episode that's in a series, it's labeled in the title that what series it's in. It'll say Cyberpunk Series. So even if we interrupt the Tarantino or the Ridley Scott series, the John Wick episode will just have a John Wick title, and it will have no series tag. So it'll be pretty easy for divers to understand what's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is all liquid. We're still hammering this stuff out. Like we talked about the new format ideas, those are not, carved into stone yet.
No, nothing. I mean, the beautiful thing about this podcast is since it's not supporting us and paying the bills, we don't have to be married to any of the ideas, and we can just change it however we want. Speaking of new styles and new formats, how about YouTube?
Yeah, so we've been pushing YouTube a little bit, and that actually, I think, is becoming a bigger part of our streams.
Yeah, it's actually becoming about a third of our viewers or our listeners is on YouTube.
So, but right now, there's no actual video. It's just our logo and our dulcet tones talking. So we've experimented a little bit with filming the episodes, and we're going to continue doing that, and then hopefully you'll actually have something to look at on YouTube.
Yeah, you might just see us kind of sitting next to each other at the table talking about things, and just the same exact podcast that you're getting now, except we'll be visible. We've also talked about doing some other things, other types of YouTube content that would be YouTube exclusive, like trailer reactions, where the viewers can watch the trailer on the thing with us, and might pause it and talk about it. We might show clips of the trailer, talk about it, to where it's a true react content, like we haven't seen it yet or whatever.
Blind reaction trailers
and things like that for movies and things that we're interested in. We're not going to become like a react show, like there are entire channels dedicated to that, but I always really enjoy those. I call out the YouTube channel Everyday Negroes. Those guys are freaking great. Like, I love their channel. Yeah,
you kind of put me up on them, and so I watched a few of that. Like, I watched their trailer react for that movie Troll, which looked, I still don't. Have you watched Troll on Netflix? Troll. Yeah, I needed to watch that.
Me too.
But yeah, I like what they do, and I could see
their
that
editing is slick.
Yeah, that could work for us, kind of a 3-way split screen, or a 2-way where you see a 2-shot of us and then the trailer playing above or below.
Yeah, something like that, or we're in the corner.
Yeah, so we need to figure out a little bit of the editing mojo of how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
But as we're going forward, we're going to move more in that direction. It's something we experimented a little. We did a trailer react for Dune.
Yeah, we did.
And then we haven't revisited it since then.
That's true. And that was an audio only react. So the other thing that we've talked about since the very beginning or before the first episode even is going to events and doing, having video content, interviewing various people. It really doesn't work in a purely audio format as well.
Yeah.
So we're looking at perhaps trying to do some things where we go to different things, like maybe some nerdy movie premieres, maybe a comic convention, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's stuff we talked about from the start, but kind of almost immediately after we started doing the podcast, everything shut down. Yeah, and so a lot of things that we were planning on doing just got set aside, and then we just have never gotten back to them.
Yeah, and we've gotten really comfortable in the podcast format where we just sort of sit down in front of our microphones and just go for it.
Yak and slap.
Yeah, yak and slap. So we can really we can do some stuff with video at events that are fun, and a lot of that sort of thing would be bonus episode content or YouTube exclusive, that kind of thing. So we're really looking at trying to expand our YouTube audience because honestly, that's where we've seen the most growth. Podcast growth is hard to get if you don't have another vector. Yeah. And we're going to try to make that vector be our own YouTube reach.
Yeah. Not to cry about it, but the changes in the algorithm have made it harder to get out in front of people.
Yeah. If like on our podcast Facebook page or whatever, if we share a link to our own show page, it buries you. You have to just put the links in the comments, or you have to talk about it organically and then put the links down below. They've made social media, I'm just going to call it meta in general for Facebook and Instagram. They're just terrible. And with Twitter they deprioritize anyone that's not Twitter Blue. We have even less reach there too.
Yeah, Twitter's always been small for us, but for a while Instagram was pretty big, and then you just watch our engagement just drop down. But onward and upward. We're not.
Social media is not our thing. Getting together and chatting about cool stuff is our thing. So let's go ahead and end this one. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. Don't forget to leave us a review. A 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find us on all social media platforms across the Metaverse as at Deep Dive the Meta. I'm pushing the weird fringe social media accounts. So we're on Mastodon and we're on Hive if you can get it to work. And we are on Letterboxd. I have put 20 movie reviews up on Letterboxd.
Nice.
We've reviewed a lot of movies, so it's quite a time consuming thing going in and writing reviews for all those movies. But I'm in process and I'm up to 20. So what was this, episode 60?
60.
Okay, 40 more to go.
Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.